Alright guys, welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to be giving you kind of a quick little walkthrough about a power steering delete and an EVAP system delete on a 97-01 Prelude. So this is mine. We're going to just kind of I just kind of finished it up. There were some weird little things I had some questions about and had to ask to my buddies that were able to give me so much information about the EVAP delete because there's no write-up for that, nothing. So power steering pump, and the reservoir, and then this is the EVAP canister. I think this is the actual charcoal filter. Not sure, don't really care. Extra bits and stuff from it. So first we'll do the EVAP because it's kind of the one that's a little bit of a pain. And then I'll walk you through the power steering delete. I actually have a forum that is what I follow to do this right here. And I'm going to post the link to that in the description so that way you can follow it too. So first the EVAP. So I'm going to show you on this car first because it's all done. And then I have another car that has most of the entire system still. And that way you can see what I'm talking about. So the EVAP on these cars is right here. A lot of open space right there. There's a bracketing system, whole bunch of vacuum lines. And then there's a gigantic line right here, which I hope you can see. There's this line here, which this big tube here I pulled off of the EVAP and just ran it down to a factory vent right here. So this is venting the fumes from the tank. There's a smaller line, tiny little line that I have pinched off up here, which is literally just another little vacuum line. The lines run underneath the car all the way to back here where those plastic pieces are. Just pull them off, and then you have each lines running up. So down here, you can kind of see if you can see it. So right here is the vacuum line. This is the tiny line up front, right there. I just have it unhooked because you don't. It's going to. You can actually remove it completely. You can remove this fully. I have it unhooked. You have the smaller. This is the bigger line here actually. So some people cut it back here and vent it with one of the tiny little filters, like for your manifold. I'm just leaving it vented up front because there was a forum I followed, kind of a rough forum regarding an ITR, and they just said to run through the vent up there and nobody has any problems. So that's just what I did. That's pretty much it. So there's a line here, right here. This guy, this is the vacuum line. It's the tiny line up front. These are your main fuel lines. When you pop these covers off, you'll see it. It's literally the rubber vacuum line. And mine was actually torn. So there's that. And then the big line here. And that's pretty much the overview of the EVAP delete. It's very straightforward. The problem is there's no write-ups. There's nothing. There's nothing online about this. So I wanted to give some help to people who also wanted to do it. And then, so that's the EVAP. Now the power steering. Power steering is a little bit harder, not gonna lie. You have the pump here, the reservoir here. You have the cooler lines, condenser lines that run down through here, the hard lines that run down around to the rack, which I'm an idiot and recording this after I put my manifold on, so you're not gonna be able to really see the rack, but I'll explain it on the other car that I have and kind of show you what I mean and what fitting you're gonna need to do it. And then of course I'll have the link to the forum in the description and you'll be able to follow that completely. So I'll see you at the other car. Okay, so we're at the other car now, which is this one. So EVAP system here, like I was saying before. Big line right here, this guy. This is the actual vent from the tank. Again, there's a plastic tube right there, see it? That guy. And I just ran a big line off of that to there and then just push this down. And then you have the tiny line here, which is just a vacuum line, which I have it unhooked in the back, it doesn't really matter. Then you have your power steering lines. So you have the pump here, your main high pressure line, and then there's the rack. So on the rack itself, you have two lines. You have the line that runs up here. I'm gonna go up in the right position. You have this line that comes up, that runs through this line runs to the pump. This one does, with the sensor. And then this is the return line that runs through the condenser and the cooler. So all I did was I unhooked this line right here, the main one here, unhooked it straight from the rack and removed it completely. And then this line, I trimmed it somewhere in this, this region here. And then I put a fitting on here. And the fitting that fits onto the rack, oddly enough, is actually a compressor fitting for an air compressor. So the fitting that you're going to use looks like this. It's one of these fittings. It's for attaching rubber hose to an air compressor. But you need the bigger barbed. There's a smaller barb and a big barb. You need the bigger barb, but it's just your standard air compressor fitting. Threads in, and then you put this line on it, tighten it up. When you drain the lines, the forum kind of explains, gives you a walkthrough about how to drain the lines. I kind of followed it. Just make sure there's still a little bit of fluid in the rack. You're gonna have a pain in the butt. The other big thing is the cooler. You know, this guy, this thing, the big hula hoop in the front, which is a hard line that runs up through, right through here, and then runs around all the way around. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to remove. If you have cutters, honestly, just cut it a bunch of places. There's bolts all through that hold it in all the way around, and then all the way down, and then you have the reservoir line. So it bolts in over here. You'll be able to see the bolts. Just pull it out. There's a bunch of clips and a bunch of little pieces. Just pull all of it out. It's kind of a pain, but it's a lot easier. I mean, when there's no motor in the car, but I did mount the motor in. It's not impossible. And that's pretty much the gist of it. Put some kind of oil catch can underneath the car so you don't lose and make the ground all nasty from the power steering fluid. And that's pretty much it, man. It's very straightforward. I removed my power steering lines because my pump was actually going bad, so I needed to remove it. And the EVAP system, it wasn't working. That's why I removed them both. Do them at your own risk completely. The sun is in my eyes, it's very bright. Do it at your own risk. You know, I'm just telling you how to do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it. My power steering pump literally grenaded, and I was not about to buy a new one, so that's why I just yanked it out. Do all the work, completely at your own risk. Just be aware that if you are running a stock ECU on your 9701, you are going to throw a check engine light for the EVAP. You're gonna have a light, it's gonna be on, nothing you can do about it. If you're running a standalone or a piggyback like a Honda, you won't. You can disable it and be gone. I'm running an S300, so I won't have the light, but you might if you're running a stock ECU. Power steering line, same thing, there's a sensor on there. Not 100% sure what the sensor is. I mean, I just pulled it. Here's the lines right here, see? And the horseshoe. And then this is actually the power steering pump bracket, mounts to the block. If any of you need any of these power steering parts, by the way, like if you don't want to delete your power steering but you need parts, I have all of this still. My pump is bad, so no bueno on that one. But I have the reservoir. I have some other pieces. If you need them, just DM me on Instagram. It's the exact same as I'll have a link in the description. Just DM me and reach out, because I will send you whatever you need if you're having issues with your power steering. I will happily send it your way. That's it. That's pretty much it. Like I said, probably like an hour. I've spent a little bit longer because I wanted to make sure I had the right information to be able to give to you. So that way when you go to do it, you're like, oh, I have everything I need and I know what I need. That's all. It really doesn't take long. Like I said, there's no write-up for the EVAP. This is pretty much it. And for the power steering, there's a forum. I'll tag it in the description. That way you can go read the exact same forum that I read, and that'll walk you through the power steering delete. It's very simple. It's a pain with the motor in the car. Highly recommend removing your intake manifold for doing all this at once. Gives you a lot more room to play with and a lot more space. You can definitely do it with the manifold still in, but I highly recommend pulling the manifold. There's a video on how to pull a manifold by Trey. I'll just look up, you know, pulling a manifold on a Prelude, whatever year. Trey be dipping. He's got a video on how to pull the manifold and he'll walk you through it. It's very straightforward. Yeah. If you have any questions about any of this, just again, DM me on Instagram or comment. I might see them. I'll read them. I'll try to pay attention. Yeah. And that's it, guys. So thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.